Okay, so one of our first pieces that we're going to sight read is Vaga che inargenti by Vincenzo Bellini. This is a really standard bel canto Italian art song. A lot of your younger singers are going to start their Italian art song study with a piece like this. Because it's bel canto, we need to be very aware of what the singer is doing. There's a lot of give and take, a lot of just gracefulness in how we're going to present this text, right? So let's look at the music. Okay, so first things first, we need to look at key signature and time signature. So we are about as basic as we can be with this piece. We're in C major and we're in 4/4. So now that my singer has handed me this piece, and I'm going to flip through it and see if there's any sticky wickets coming my way, one of the first things that I want to be aware of is this figure right there. There's a lot of ledger lines. I just want to make sure that I go through and see what the pitches are, figure out where I'm going. We talked in our how-to video about shape and pattern, right? And honestly, once I have figured out that that note is a C, speaking of shape, it's really just going to go up and then back down to there, right? And then I go back to the C. So there's a lot of things that are going to help me out there. Also, I have a lot of pattern in my left hand, a lot of just broken chords, C major, F back to C. So I'm going to have a lot of pattern and chord reading, harmonic reading going there. I probably don't want to worry about that cute little turn. I mean, if you want to put it in, feel free to. It's lovely, but it's not something I really need to get the first time through. If I'm going to cut anything out in this introduction, I want to make sure that I keep the chord in the left hand. I don't necessarily have to keep the motion going, but I need there to be some sort of C major chord, and I can just play this. That's going to be enough for my singer to know where we are and give them something to hang on to. If we keep going, it's a lot of broken chords, a lot of octaves in my left hand. We talked in the first video how octaves have a very specific shape to them. All of those look like octaves. So if I know that the top one is a C, I'm going to assume that the bottom one is a C. That's just a decent educated guess. But as I skim through this, so far, it's all just a lot of eighth note motion, broken chords. I have some accidentals through here that I want to make sure I'm aware of. Otherwise, I want to be aware of that because my singer has the fermata on beat 3, and I don't play again until beat 1. So I want to be aware ensemble-wise of that. I have a rhythm change through here. I've been playing on beats 1 and 3 so far in my left hand, and now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's worth paying attention to. Top of the next page, this comes back. Speaking of reading and patterns, that's an exact repeat of what I played at the beginning. So I want to be aware that that comes back. And honestly, as I go through the end of this, it's an exact repeat. There's that again with the fermata in the vocal line, so I want to pay attention to the singer there. There's my 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 1 and 3. And it's all the same except for the play out, which consists of 3 C major chords. So I've gone through all of this. My next step is to sight read the piece. So again, you're going to get 4 clicks for nothing, and then you go, and your only job is to stay with the click. That's all we're going to do, is stay with the click. You can cut out whatever you need to, just stay with the click. So here we go. Okay, so how'd you do? Were you able to keep going and get as many notes as you can? One of the hard things about this piece is that the motion never stops. That eighth note broken chord keeps going, right? So if I were sight reading for this time, if I were sight reading this for the first time, I would have relied a lot on making sure that I got the harmonic structure right and just keeping the tonality going so that my singer had something to hang on to, right? So if we go back to our score, what are my next steps? So I've sight read through this with my singer or even just by myself. What are my next steps if I want to perform this piece? Obviously, I'm going to learn all the notes and the rhythms. That's always your first step. Now that we're past sight reading it, please do learn the notes and the rhythms. But more than that, I need to dig into the text. So I'm going to want to find an IPA transcription. I'm going to want to find a translation so I know what's going on. This particular score does not have a translation in the score. But secondly, scores that do have translations are often poetic. And so they're not really useful when you're trying to figure out what the words really translate to. So I want to speak through the text. I want to learn the Italian. I want to translate it. All of that. And once I've done all of that, my final step is I want to play through it and sing at the same time. It's really helpful if you can sing the text, but even if you can't sing the text, just da da da, right? Granted, I am the first person to say I'm not a singer. This is not going to sound great, but I want to take the time. Oh, if I start on just the second system there. Vaga luna che inargenti, queste rive, questi fiori. I'm able to see where the singer's going to breathe, how the breath line needs to move, especially with bel canto rep. Bel canto rep is so based in the breath line and in graceful moving lines, and it's very much about a conversation between the singer and the pianist, and we want to be able to have that conversation because that's one of the greatest parts about being a collaborative person is you get to have these wonderful ensemble experiences, right? So in my prep, I want to take the time to sing while I play and just see how that is going to fit together before I see my singer for our next rehearsal. And then by the time I get to our next rehearsal, I'm in a really good spot to have opinions about how we want to shape the phrases and have a conversation about what the piece is really about, right? Again, if you want a hard copy or an IPA transcription or translations of any of these pieces, you can find those on my website, which is www.emilywilliamspianist.com. And otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you for our next piece.